At my promotion party, I was told to wait outside the venue. My uncle's wife said, "It's just for close family." I looked around. Everyone else was inside. So I took my suit jacket, turned around, and said, "Guess I'll celebrate elsewhere." My dad followed me out, shocked. I knew something was off the moment I stepped onto the porch. The lights inside were glowing warm and bright, and I could hear laughter spilling out through the windows, but nobody came to the door when I rang the bell. After a few seconds, it creaked open and Claudia stood there, my uncle's wife, dressed like she owned the place. "Oh," she said, her eyes gliding over me like I was a UPS package left at the wrong address. "Hi, Vincent. I didn't think you'd be stopping by." "Stopping by?" I blinked. "It's my party," my dad told me. Claudia's tight smile cut me off. "Right, about that. It's more of an immediate family thing." I stared at her, trying to process. Through the crack of the door, I saw balloons, a banner that said, "Congrats, Vince," and the silhouettes of people, cousins, aunts, even my college roommate, milling about with drinks in hand. All of them invited, except me. "Immediate family?" I repeated. "I'm your nephew. My name's on the damn banner." She shrugged. Warren wasn't clear with the invites. "You know how these things go." Her voice softened artificially. "I'm sure there was just a mix-up." Behind her, I saw my dad hovering, his bald head shining under the chandelier. He looked like a statue, paralyzed and useless. I raised a hand and called, "Dad." Claudia didn't move, didn't even glance back. "We're just about to cut the cake." My father finally stepped forward, reaching out toward me like that would somehow make this less humiliating. "Son, maybe we can talk later. It's been a long day." I waited for him to say more, to tell Claudia to step aside, to say, "This is my son's night. He's coming in." But he didn't. His hand dropped. His gaze did too. Something cracked open in my chest. "Forget it," I muttered. I turned around and took the steps two at a time. "Vincent," Dad called. But it was already too late. I wasn't going to stand there like some door-to-door salesman waiting to be let into my own damn party. The air outside was cooler than I remembered. I shoved my hands into my pockets and kept walking, my sneakers crunching on the gravel. Halfway down the block, I turned around. My father stood there on the sidewalk, awkward and unsure, like he couldn't decide whether to follow me or disappear back into Claudia's golden-lit kingdom. I stopped. "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't try to make it okay." He didn't move. His shoulders slumped like they were carrying something too heavy. "You knew," I said. "You knew I wasn't on the list." "I didn't." His voice cracked. "I tried." "No, you let her win." I shook my head. Again, and then I walked away. He didn't follow. Not that I expected him to. I ended up sitting on the edge of a concrete planter across the street, facing the house like it was some kind of stage I'd just been kicked off. From there, I had a clear view of everything, the guests floating around inside, the shimmer of lights through tall windows, and my own name hanging crookedly on the congrats banner like a punchline to a joke I didn't get. I checked my phone. 2 texts sent to Dad. One from earlier in the day, "Should I bring anything?" No response. The second, "Just now." Really? No reply. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Inside, Claudia walked through the dining room like she was hosting a gala. Her arms spread wide as she clinked glasses and smiled that performative smile she wore at every family event, the kind that never quite reached her eyes. She leaned in to whisper something to Aunt Jo, who turned toward the door briefly, then laughed. At me? I couldn't tell. Probably. I watched my roommate, Trey, laughing with Devin, Claudia's stepson. Devin looked polished as always, like he walked straight out of a prep school catalog. He was wearing the suit I once saw hanging in my dad's closet. Of course he was. I stared at them long enough to realize something. This wasn't a mistake. Claudia hadn't forgotten to include me. She had designed it this way, orchestrated every detail of the evening, so it looked like I didn't belong, like I was an outsider to my own success. I stood and walked back toward the house. I wasn't planning on causing a scene. I just needed to see her face up close when I asked. She was by the drinks table, pouring white wine into real glassware, not the usual plastic cups we used for birthdays. I stepped onto the porch and knocked twice, loud enough to make a few heads turn. She opened the door with a smile that instantly dropped. "Oh," she said again, just like earlier. "Still here." "You excluded me," I said. No pleasantries, no soft entry. She sipped her wine, unbothered. "Vincent, we've already gone over this. We just had to be selective. I'm your nephew. And you're welcome at Sunday dinners," she said, like that fixed anything. But tonight was about celebrating in a way that reflects who Vincent is becoming. My jaw clenched. "You mean the version of me you approve of? The one who stays silent and invisible so your golden boy can shine?" She tilted her head. "You're very sensitive." I laughed, cold. "No, I'm just done pretending." Behind her, my father hovered again, half in the hallway, half behind a doorframe like a coward peeking out of his own shame. Our eyes met. He didn't say a word. That was when it hit me. This wasn't about one party. Claudia had spent years positioning herself as the gatekeeper of the family, rewriting traditions, dictating seating charts, rewording invitations, rearranging lives, all under the guise of order and hospitality. And my dad, he let her. The quiet betrayal stung more than the loud one. Claudia didn't hide what she was doing. But my father? He saw it all and did nothing. "Forget it," I muttered. I turned and walked back down the steps, back across the street. I didn't want back in. I just wanted to remember this moment, the night I stopped pretending I was part of something I clearly wasn't. By the time I got home, The silence in the apartment felt heavier than usual. I kicked off my shoes, tossed my keys onto the table, and dropped onto the couch without even turning the lights on. My phone buzzed. A notification from Claudia. One new message. There's still time to make things right. Come to family supper tomorrow night. Just us. No drama. Let's talk. You've always had a place here. Vincent, don't let hurt feelings ruin something beautiful. I stared at it, rereading the last line. Don't let hurt feelings ruin something beautiful. It was almost impressive, the way she managed to package manipulation as concern. A tidy little weapon wrapped in silk. A place at the table, but only if I swallowed everything she did. Only if I played my part, quiet and grateful. I didn't reply. I turned my phone over and let it face the table. The next morning, Dad showed up. I was still in my sweatpants, eating cereal over the sink when I heard the knock. For a second, I thought about ignoring it, but curiosity got the better of me. He looked tired, older than I remembered, like the guilt had aged him overnight. His eyes scanned my apartment like he didn't know how to start. I wanted to talk, he said. I nodded once and stepped aside. He sat down, glanced at the still dark TV, the cereal box on the counter. I got her message, I said. I assume you're here to deliver the same thing in person. He looked down at his hands. Claudia's way. It's not always perfect, but she keeps the family moving. She means well. Does she? I asked, because from where I was standing last night, it looked like she meant to erase me. He exhaled. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, but it did. And you let it. I paused, letting the silence stretch. You stood there while she told your son he wasn't welcome at his own promotion party. He rubbed his face, like he was trying to wipe the guilt off it. I didn't think she'd actually go through with it. I didn't think she'd exclude you like that. But she did. And what did you do? Nothing. I shook my head. You've been doing nothing for years, Dad. I thought I was keeping the peace, he muttered. No. You were keeping her power intact. I looked him straight in the eyes. You're not neutral. You're complicit. He didn't argue, and that was worse. After a long pause, he said, You're right. I blinked. What? You're right, he repeated. I let her control everything. I stopped pushing back a long time ago, and now I don't know how to fix it. I didn't feel triumphant hearing that. I just felt tired. I don't want a seat at her table, I said. I want to stop pretending it's the only one that matters. He nodded slowly. I'll be at the supper, I added. Not for her. For me. He looked up. I want to look her in the eye and let her know I'm not playing along anymore. Claudia's estate looked like a catalog spread for rural elegance. Wrought iron gates. A winding gravel driveway lined with decorative lanterns. Manicured hedges shaped like spirals for no reason other than to say, I can afford a gardener who knows how to do this. I parked my car at the far end of the driveway and sat there for a minute, gripping the wheel. Part of me still expected someone to run out and wave me away. Sorry, we meant the other Vincent. But the porch light was on. The front door cracked open. She was waiting. Vincent, Claudia beamed as she greeted me, her tone so sugary it made my teeth hurt. I'm so glad you came. I stepped inside. I got your note. Oh, that. She chuckled lightly. Just a little family olive branch. We all get emotional sometimes. It's water under the bridge. The living room was staged like a magazine cover. Soft jazz hummed in the background. Wine glasses sparkled under chandeliers. Devin sat comfortably by the fireplace, legs crossed like he was born in a country club. Vin, he called out with a grin too wide to be real. Good to see you, man. I gave him a nod but didn't bother pretending. This wasn't a reunion. It was a chess match, and I had just walked into her opening move. Dinner was set for 6, even though only 5 of us were present: Claudia, Devin, my father, Uncle Jerry, and me. Claudia made a show of serving everything herself: glazed salmon, wild rice, some kind of vegetable medley too fancy for a name. Halfway through dinner, she picked up her wine and said, I just want to say, this family means the world to me. I know things got a little tense recently, but we're all here now, and that's what matters. I set my fork down. You mean the night you threw me out of my own celebration? I said calmly. The night you told people it was immediate family only, while everyone I've ever cared about was inside? The room froze. Claudia blinked, her smile barely faltering. Vincent, let's not rehash. No, I said. We're going to hash it. All of it. Warren looked down at his plate. Jerry cleared his throat awkwardly. Claudia tilted her head. It was a misunderstanding. You wrote the guest list. Her tone sharpened just a touch. I curated the experience. For everyone. You curated me out of it, I said. Because I don't fit the image you're trying to project. Devin does. He's your golden boy. He looks good in photos. He nods when you talk. I think that's what this was really about. Devin sat up straighter. Dude, chill. No one's out to get you. I turned to him. Stay out of this. His eyes narrowed. You're being paranoid. Am I? Then why was I the only one not invited? Why was my name on the banner but not on the guest list? Claudia finally dropped the pretense. Because, Vincent, you're impulsive, emotional. You make people uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. I leaned forward. You mean I don't play along? That scares you. Warren spoke then, softly, but clearly. He's right. Everyone turned to him. She didn't want you there, he said, looking at me, and I didn't stop her. I'm sorry. Claudia's mouth opened, then shut. Devin looked stunned. Are you serious right now? Yes, Warren said, firmer this time. Vincent's not the problem. Claudia is. You could have heard a pin drop. Claudia stood, her hands trembling just enough for the silver bracelets to rattle. This dinner is over. No, I said, standing too. This dinner just started something new. She didn't speak again. She just walked out. And for the first time in years, no one followed her. It started with a phone call from HR. Hey, Vincent, sorry to bug you, but we got a weird voicemail this morning. My heart jumped. What kind of weird? She didn't leave a name, but she claimed to be a concerned family member. Said you might have exaggerated some things on your resume. That you've always had a bit of a problem with honesty. I didn't even need to ask who it was. Did you take it seriously? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Not for a second, my manager said. But you might want to give your references a heads up, just in case. I thanked him and hung up. Then came the Instagram posts. Claudia didn't tag me directly. She was too careful for that. But it didn't take a detective to connect the dots. A shot of a beautifully lit dinner table with a caption, "Only those who uplift others deserve a seat." A picture of Devin holding a wine glass. Proud of this one. Integrity always rises above noise. And then the comment threads, vague, passive-aggressive jabs that just so happened to echo the exact accusations she'd been whispering for years. That I was volatile, that I had mood issues, that I created drama where there was none. By the end of the week, I got a text from a former classmate I hadn't spoken to in years. Dude, what's going on? Your aunt just called me, said you've been struggling mentally since graduation and might be spiraling. I laughed, actually laughed, because I'd seen it coming. Claudia wasn't confrontational. She was worse than that. She weaponized perception. She built her whole empire on the image of grace and elegance. But when challenged, she didn't attack you. She erased you. And now, she was trying to erase me. But I wasn't the same person I used to be. I didn't just sit back and take it anymore. I dug out old emails, screenshots, group texts where Claudia had left not-so-subtle reminders of who was allowed at certain events. I found messages where she changed the location of family dinners last minute, only after confirming I couldn't come. Photos where my face had been cropped out before she posted them. Then came the anonymous message. A plain envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper, typed, "You don't get to rewrite the rules. If you want to be part of this family, fall in line. Otherwise, stay out." That was the final confirmation. Claudia wasn't just angry, she was scared. Scared that someone was finally pulling back the curtain. I took a photo of the note and saved it to a new folder on my desktop. Claudia, documentation. This time, I wasn't reacting. I was building something, quietly, carefully. Because if she wanted to play games, I'd play too. But I wasn't playing to win. I was playing to end it. I didn't go looking for revenge. I went looking for the truth. It started with a phone call to my cousin Melanie. She and I hadn't talked in years, not since Claudia cut off contact with that whole side of the family over a supposed disrespectful comment at a barbecue. I never got the full story. Melanie picked up on the second ring. "Vincent," she said, confused. "Well, it's been a minute." "Yeah," I said. "Listen, I know this is out of nowhere, but I need to ask you something about Claudia." There was a pause. Then, without hesitation, "What did she do this time?" That was all the confirmation I needed. We ended up talking for over an hour. Melanie told me how Claudia had sabotaged her engagement 5 years ago, subtly planting seeds of doubt in the family until it turned into a full-blown rift. Her fiancé had backed out, citing family drama. Melanie was heartbroken, and Claudia never even acknowledged it. I called Aunt Denise next. Same story. Claudia had convinced their father, my grandfather, to rewrite his will shortly before he passed. Nobody else got notice. Denise only found out she'd been written out after the funeral. She told him I couldn't be trusted with money, Denise said, her voice shaking, that I'd wasted. She made it sound like she was protecting him, but she was just protecting her position. One by one, the calls kept coming. Cousin Terrence, who hadn't been invited to the last 3 family reunions. Lisa, whose wedding Claudia had once called trashy loud enough for guests to overhear. Even Uncle Jerry, who'd once been her biggest defender, admitted he'd been frozen out after questioning her at a family meeting. Each conversation came with details, dates, screenshots, voicemails. Stories I'd heard bits and pieces of over the years, now falling into place like puzzle pieces. Claudia wasn't just overbearing. She had engineered a system, a social machine that revolved around her image, her version of the family. Anyone who didn't fit that image? Erased. I spent every evening that week compiling it all into a document, a living dossier, growing by the day. I added everything, the texts, the anonymous note, the social media posts, even transcripts from my own conversations. I included footnotes, timelines, a summary section. If you read it cover to cover, you wouldn't just see a controlling woman. You'd see a strategist. And now, people were paying attention. Quietly, sure. Nobody wanted to start a war. But I could feel it, the way the air shifted when I brought her up. People who used to defend her suddenly had nothing to say. I got messages like, "Thank you for saying what we couldn't. I thought it was just me. Please keep going." I didn't respond to most of them. I didn't need to. Because the point wasn't to gather a mob. It was to show her that her spell was breaking. That the fear people used to feel when her name came up, that heavy, silencing fear, was being replaced by something else. Not rage, not revenge. Clarity. The hotel ballroom looked different in the daytime. Less glamorous, more sterile. No mood lighting to disguise the beige walls. Just rows of chairs, a long table with coffee and bagels, and a projector screen at the front. It was the same hotel Claudia had booked for my promotion party, the one she turned into a celebration I wasn't allowed to attend. Now, it was my turn to choose the guest list. I called it the Family Future Forum. The name was vague on purpose. I didn't want to scare anyone off, just make them curious enough to show up. And they did. Aunt Denise came, Melanie, Terrence, Uncle Jerry, even a few people I hadn't expected, like Cousin Theo and my dad's old friend Luis. My father sat quietly in the second row, hands folded in his lap, avoiding eye contact but present. Then, 10 minutes after we were supposed to start, Claudia walked in. She was wearing cream slacks and a lavender blouse, sunglasses still on despite the indoor lighting. Devin followed close behind, expression unreadable. She smiled like a queen entering court. "Well," she said, scanning the room. "Isn't this ambitious?" I ignored her and walked to the front of the room. "Thanks for coming, everyone," I said. "I know it's unusual, but I wanted to talk openly about patterns, about choices, about the future of this family, and the people who've been quietly pushed out of it." Claudia laughed lightly, as if humoring a child. I clicked the first slide on the projector. The screen lit up with a simple title, Documented Patterns of Exclusion and Control, 2009 to 2025. There was a pause, a visible shift in the room. I began. Each slide had names, dates, and evidence. I didn't embellish. I didn't speculate. I just presented the canceled invitations, the family members cut off, the manipulation around my grandfather's will, the weddings disrupted, the relationships undermined, the decisions made unilaterally under the guise of family unity. Claudia's posture tightened with each page. "This is absurd," she said, standing up. "You're making me out to be some kind of villain." I met her gaze. "I'm just showing what happened. Your own words, your own messages." Melanie raised her hand. "Actually," she said, "that message about my engagement, that really hurt. I never got an apology." Denise spoke next. "And I'd like to know why I had to find out at the will reading that I'd been written out." Voices began to pile up, quiet at first, then stronger. Even Devin looked unsure now. "This is a hit job," Claudia snapped, turning to my father. "Warren, are you really letting this happen?" He stood up slowly. "I'm tired," he said. "Tired of pretending this family doesn't have a problem. I should have spoken up years ago." Claudia's face went rigid. Her jaw clenched. "You people want chaos. You want to tear apart everything I've worked to hold together." "No," I said. "We want honesty and respect. The real kind, not the kind that comes with conditions." She looked around the room and saw something she'd never seen before. She was outnumbered. She grabbed her bag, muttered something about ungrateful children, and marched toward the door. No one followed her. The silence she left behind wasn't heavy. It was clean, like the air had finally cleared after a long, suffocating storm. I stood there, looking at the same space where I was once shut out. And this time, the room was mine. Claudia didn't vanish quietly. A week after the forum, I got a heads up from a recruiter friend at a firm I'd interviewed with. Someone had contacted them anonymously, suggesting I had interpersonal issues and was difficult to work with. The phrases were too familiar. She was trying to take one last shot at me, the only way she knew how, behind the scenes, under someone else's name. But this time, I was ready. I had already spoken to my current employer. I'd explained the family situation in clear, professional terms. I was dealing with someone who had a history of retaliation and manipulation. I showed them the evidence. I kept everything factual. No drama, no emotional storytelling, just the truth. They backed me without hesitation. "If anything else like that comes through," my boss told me, "send it straight to legal." That was the end of that. Claudia had lost her grip, and she knew it. She tried to strike back in the only way she could, and it fell flat. So I moved on. I threw a party, not at a hotel, not catered or curated or dripping in status. Just a backyard barbecue at my friend Leo's place in Pasadena. String lights, paper plates, music from a Bluetooth speaker, and enough burgers to feed a small army. Melanie brought her new boyfriend. Denise brought old family albums. Even Uncle Jerry showed up with his terrible coleslaw and a bottle of cheap whiskey. People came not out of obligation, but because they wanted to. No one was trying to impress anyone. No one was watching what they said. For the first time, it felt like family, not the kind that demands things, but the kind that shows up when it counts. Warren came, too. He showed up late, with a six-pack and a worn-out Dodgers cap. We sat on the back steps while the others laughed around the fire pit. "I owe you," he said quietly. "No," I said. "You owe yourself." He nodded, and we sat there for a long time without saying much. That was okay. We didn't need to fix everything in one night. But the weight that had always pressed between us, that guilt, that silence, it was lighter now. The family didn't magically heal. Some people stayed loyal to Claudia. Some chose distance, unsure where they fit in the fallout. And that was fine. I wasn't trying to glue the family back together. I was just done pretending I needed to. I wasn't the outsider anymore. I wasn't invisible. I had stood my ground and stayed standing. And I realized something that night as I watched people toast with plastic cups under the patio lights. Claudia had spent years shaping the family around her control. But when the control cracked, everything she built collapsed. What I had now wasn't perfect, but it was real. About 2 weeks after the barbecue, I got a package in the mail. No return address, but I didn't need one. The handwriting on the label was perfectly familiar, slanted, sharp, elegant in a way that made everything feel like an invitation even when it wasn't. Claudia. I opened the box carefully, expecting something dramatic. Inside was a leather-bound photo album. gold-trimmed, expensive, the kind of thing you'd find on a coffee table in a house where no one ever actually sat on the furniture. The first page was a dedication to family, the ones who stayed loyal, the ones who understood the value of tradition. I knew right away what this was. Not a keepsake, a message. I flipped through it slowly. There were photos from birthdays, holidays, graduations, but not all of them. Not the real ones. Not the messy ones. Just the curated versions. The ones that looked good in frames. And I wasn't in most of them. In the few where I did appear, my face had been cropped, or I was stuck in the background, out of focus. One picture from my high school graduation had Devin front and center, even though he wasn't even in my class. The caption underneath read, "Proud day for the family." I closed the book. Claudia had rewritten history, or at least, the version she was still trying to preserve. This was her final move, not to fix things, not to reconnect, but to reinforce the narrative she had clung to all along, that I didn't matter, that I was never really part of it. I sat there on the couch, holding the album for a while, not angry, not even surprised, just still. Then I stood up, walked to my desk, and placed the book in the bottom drawer. I didn't throw it away. I didn't set it on fire or send it back with a dramatic note. I just filed it away, a relic from another version of the story. I sat down, opened my laptop, and pulled up my thesis draft. Still a mess, but it was mine. I started typing, the keys clacking softly in the quiet. Outside, the sun had dipped below the buildings. Inside, I felt steady, not angry, not bitter, just free.